All right, continue on fighting the good fight and trying to have a good time while we're at it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save this untitled project as, let's see, what are we on now? Oh, wow, sketch 48, getting close to the 50 mark. Almost going to hit that goal. Always feels good to hit goals. So let's save this project inside of our Sketch Explorations folder so that with this icon, we see all the cool, amazing files that we have collected and presets, etc., etc. Seems to take it a while to build that. Could be because I'm keeping this project on a thumb drive so I can just move it around from one computer to the next, and it's easily compatible across all my systems. So whichever room I'm just happen to be in, I can make a sketch in there or on the laptop on the go. That's kind of a fun little thing for me, is trying to sketch in different locations to see if the space causes any, aids and abets any kind of inspirations. Cool. So I had looked at this one project, this thing right here, and kind of a texture experiment that was done years ago. So might as well just bust it out and use it as a jumping off point, as we've been doing lately with some of these old sketches. It looks like we're missing some files, so that's always fun. Kind of one of the banes of my existence. 0013 audio, yeah. And this is the reason why I like using MIDI clips for MIDI dummy clips. Of course, you can't double click on an audio track and get a free clip. Here you can. So you've got to use audio files, obviously, to get the clip automations. And if you happen to lose a file for whatever reason, like I did here over the years, then you either just have to put up with this warning or error or whatever, which is no big deal for most people. I'm so German and type A that I'm like, I want to get rid of that. So I think what we'll do is let's show this in Explorer, this little sine tone. I'm gonna make a duplicate of it, and let's get the name here, 0013-audio. 001 space 3-audio. I'm probably spelling that wrong, so let me double check. 3 zeros. Yeah, okay. So since this is like a 2 kilobyte file, I think it's fine for this case here. And let's see, search our project, yes. And it should find it, and it's not going to recognize it immediately, maybe. Yeah, question mark here, because it's not the same length as Ableton is remembering it as. So we're just going to have to put up with that. Obviously, in this case, I don't think I was using, as you can see, they're all muted. So I was just using these clips essentially as dummy clips to put different automations and modulations inside there. So what we can do here is that we can, let's see, show this in browser, and I can just rename this as dummy audio clip. So we can use this down the road if we want. It's basically just an exact replica of the digital sign. We can use this down the road. And in fact, let's see, let me edit this. See if that even works. And I'll go ahead and, yep, still rocking 7.0. Honestly, I love my old school Windows apps. I think it's Control M, maybe. Nope. Alt P M. Yes, mute. So we're going to mute that. And in fact, we don't even need all of those. And let's see, Alt P M. Do we mute that too? We don't need this marker here. Let's just get rid of all the excess. Go ahead and save it. And let's jump back over here, and it should, yeah, it's now. So now when we use a dummy audio clip, we don't even need to mute it. We can just drag it in there, you know. So it's good to have in your projects like a group of obviously racks and things to work from, but some utility stuff like a sample dummy audio clip sample for when you want to use I guess just have audio tracks that are just having clips for with follow actions and automations in them like you've seen us use in the past. So okay, enough blah blah blah. Let's push play on this and kind of get a feel for what we're hearing here. And I need to familiarize myself with what exactly are we doing here. It looks like these master clips are what we have been titling as our start clips in the past. So we have a follow action set on the start clip to jump to any other, and then these are just static. They don't have any follow actions. So they have different sets of automations inside of them, so we get a different sound for each of these clips, which is a really nifty trick, especially if you want your live sets to be different every single time. This will just sort of pick a random start point. Of course, we only have one clip here, and that kind of defeats the purpose because obviously we're only going to get this one, I guess, set of automations here. It doesn't even look like we have anything here. So this is maybe just sort of a half-baked template sketch project. And now that I'm hearing it, it's definitely very minimal. And let's move this start action down to as tight as it'll go, as fast as it'll go. I think when you have a lot of stuff that's timed to the beat, it makes sense to set your follow action to either be like one beat or one measure, so that when it does jump down to here, these are all in sync with each other. So that's something to consider. But for this case, I think we want it as fast as possible. Let's see if these are not legato. I want to go ahead and set everything to legato and just set the whole bunch to use the other. So now we're going to get a kind of a jump around of different presets of automations. So it looks like a lot of our modulations and automations are happening in this effects rack. So pretty basic stuff here, nothing too exciting sounding, honestly. But for a texture, it definitely does the trick. So let's put these, instead of really fast here, let's do them like that. Cool. Nice. And I wanted to do something really quick in this folder of really old sketches that I've designated for future sketches, which it's nice to get everything all in one place here. And I'll be happy to have all of these sketches for some future use. Who knows what that will be. But I don't like to let anything go to waste. I'm really efficient. Too German for my own good, I guess. So inside of one of these, I remember running across a track that was, let's see, not this global control grooves. No, I think that's a separate, gotcha. A whole separate thing. There was a track that had a set of, FA template, which is follow action template. And that's, I think, something I want to drag and move into our, first of all, I think we have to drag it in here. And so this is pretty much a series of MIDI clips, and they're empty, and they're just ready to go. They have their follow action set up. They're set up to play as other. So it's an easy starting point, and they all have different lengths, and they're all set to legato. So I want to go ahead and save this in our sound templates, and which probably could be better named. I've noticed this about myself. I'll open up projects from years ago, and I won't be able to figure certain things out because I just didn't name things very well. So we'll just call this templates for now. I mean, sound template, sure, I guess because we have the slurp, but I want more also utilities in here. And as we get more of these in this templates folder, I think I'll do like what I've done with the racks and have, you know, a series of subfolders to kind of be able to easily find things that do certain things. So this is definitely a utility. Cool. So we don't really need this master here, or we could use it. And I really wish I could switch out these audio clips to be MIDI. That would be a cool little feature, but there's probably some trick and way to do it that I haven't discovered yet. Always nice when there are certain things that you still need to discover. It keeps the process exciting. Okay, so since that was set to send only, obviously we need to reroute that, and I would route this straight into this MIDI, you know, but MIDI doesn't allow audio ins, not at least through here. And so we can just use our gate and pull audio from the 3 master like so, and then set this back to sends only. So now we've got some kind of freak show hybrid. Hybrid between MIDI and audio clips, which is, you know, it's what's going to happen when you're loading up older projects where you weren't sticking to consistent, you know, consistencies. And we could, you know, I'm not sure what we have. We don't really have much going on in here. I guess that's a little bit of modulations there. Yes, and let me just try something. This is just on a whim. So let's see if I make a MIDI and pull this over here, and then just do drums. Okay, so I want to see if then hold on. Let's go back here, and I need this clip again. We want to keep that clip. So let's designate this as a MIDI. We have to make a dummy clip in there, double click, and that way when we drag the audio over, it doesn't automatically convert the MIDI track into an audio track. Let's make a copy of this and turn, let's see, off the follow action. And I want to drag it over here. Let's just convert it to drums. And I'm going to copy all these. Actually, maybe I should copy all these effects first, but we'll try that again if this doesn't work. And then push play on here and see if does it retain any of our, it doesn't look like it converted over any of the automations or modulations as far as I can tell. But let's push play on here and see. Okay, so if I drag this over here and we already have the effects in there, let's just try harmony. Yep, looks like it does not want to drag over those things, which is too bad, but I kind of get it. I know that when you have 2 audio tracks here, or if 2 MIDI tracks, I mean, I guess we can't cross move the modulations and automations from audio to MIDI, but I know if you have 2 audio tracks with the exact same effects in the exact same order, and you copy over a clip, it will copy over the modulations and automations. And the same goes for MIDI tracks. So I was just curious if I was going to be able to get that same luxury between an audio and a MIDI, where you have the exact same effects. That maybe because this, I'm wondering if because this instrument section is here, it doesn't throw things off a little bit. Well, anyway, something to think about, obviously, for down the road. But for now, let's just go back to another time when things were so much easier. In fact, I'm going to just move these over here into our follow action template. And let's pull audio from to operator, and we can. Since good, the mapping is still there. So okay, cool. And since I just dragged that in here, we still have from our original default template. We still have this thing set up, which is cool. Yes. Okay, good. Now, let's just kind of move some things around. I know we had this note being automated before. And again, like using presets, I love to alter them. I don't really like to use presets verbatim too much, unless I am running the presets through a bunch of effects. So in the spirit of trying to make things a little different and just see where we get, then I'm going to, yeah, that's why I got rid of that audio track, and I'm converting it more or less into this nifty MIDI track with our follow action template. So call this FX1. And we certainly need to automate the and it looks like it somehow kept the modulation a bit from the previous. So that's interesting to note. I suppose we could fix that pretty easily by going over here and just pulling that up maybe, or just putting a dot there. And that when it hits this one, it should hopefully reset, but maybe not. Yeah, it looks like maybe it did. Okay, so that's an interesting behavior. Ableton has so many little nuances in its behaviors that oftentimes I'm just really surprised when it does certain things, and or still things I'm trying to figure out that I don't understand why it does certain things. I guess that's kind of the fun in, at least for me in this process, is trying to discover why things work a certain way. So then once you understand it, you can know how it works in your head, and you can kind of, at that point, figure out ways to bend those things or work several aspects of those things together in a series or in parallel or whatever. That's kind of how I like to roll with the MIDI effects. I've tried my best to do a lot of tests to understand the different nuances and ins and outs of them. So sometimes when walking around and just, you know, hanging out in the neighborhood, see there that thing goes recording again. And I believe we just, yeah, recorded the automation on that at the same time. So anyway, yeah, I like to walk around, and sometimes I'll just start thinking about the different effects, and certain things make sense, you know, in my head. Like, for example, the other day when I was thinking about the random once feature on the arpeggiator and the unique behavior that it exhibits, and it occurred to me that you could create a really interesting and set of okay. When I'm holding down the shift modifier and then I hit my middle mouse button, for some reason it turns on record. So I must have that set up in the auto hotkey script that I'm using. So shift and middle mouse button. Yeah. Okay. Something to remember for down the road. This is such a process of learning and trying to figure out what the heck. Oh yes, my trusty video for inspiration. Which, for some of these projects, I don't think it makes sense to use this video, because sometimes it does suck a lot of the, you know, the cycles, the CPU that I could be using for more of this DSP nuttiness. And speaking of that idea that I had the other day with the arpeggiator and the random once that we covered in the last sketch, I want to pull that over from the last sketch and use that as a starting point. So today we're going to do a bit of both. We're going to pull a little piece from the last sketch's inspiration, but also pull something from one of our older sketches from years ago. So let's see, 47. And Oh, right. I forgot that we had actually made, we as in me and the voices in my head, in this rack, so we have instruments and we have this 12-step program. Sweet. And I believe all that we needed to do was send it a C3. Ah. I remember this. It's an all-in-one, one-stop shop sound generator. So maybe we'll turn off the cool. We'll turn off the bass and the melody for now. And let's get a drum bus on there. Cool. And I do need to update this so that it uses an instrument rack. We don't really need a drum rack for this particular case. And then I need to get all of these mapped up to the various... so much stuff to do here. Right, and I remember from last time we have to open this up to see our chains to be able to edit things when we have them all set to receive the same key. Peculiars. Some interesting peculiars. Cool. And just for future, you know, when we open this back up, we can just hit play on our first scene, and I'm going to set this to not loop, so it'll immediately start a pattern that way, and then not keep playing this note, because every time we play a new note, we get a new pattern in here. Well, maybe we want that actually, because that is the sort of beauty of this I guess these MIDI racks here, is that every time you send them a new note, they do generate a new set of patterns. So okay, I think now I'm deciding that that's the way to go. So we'll make this, I want to just make it like 14, some kind of odd number, even though we have these set up as more or less 16-step. And I was thinking the other day, also after the last sketch, that I wanted to I guess build this, not rebuild, but update it so that we can change. Here is just the number of beats that might occur in a 16-step pattern, but I actually want to change down the number of steps and have that option. And I might get rid of this flam. It's just like we only have so many of these. It's kind of hard to figure out which one do we want to get rid of. I feel like the random velocity helps a lot. The chance is really nice to have in there. And honestly, it doesn't sound too bad with just having this feature here. Yeah, with that 1/12, that really makes it kind of nutty. Yeah, we can get some really odd. Yeah, this is starting to sound like some, you know, some nutty ghetto kind of beat stuff. Gotcha. And with a quarter note, with all of our steps set up, well, we're going to get basically a techno beat. If we turn down the steps, it won't fill out all those quarter notes. And it's kind of random depending on the pattern that we have. But it should be consistent. So somewhere in those 16 steps that we have set up, we've got notes on and notes off and notes off. More notes off depending on how we pull this down, but it's a consistent notes off setup. And we could automate this here. Cool. I think another percussion sound could be nice in there. Maybe something like I really don't know. And honestly, I'm not used to using the analog to make percussion sounds, so this could either be a disaster or a good challenge. I'm not really sure yet what's going to happen here. We could get an easy tom sound. I remember from the last sketch. We need to send a note. And let's take our chance down so it's not so constant. And a little bit more random, a little more generative on that one. Got our nice little laser snap. It's kind of a classic sound from some old drum machines. Let's get this envelope up. Now we get a really juicy snap. Cool. There's I guess when we limit our number of beats that can happen in the 16 steps, then sometimes things are a lot more cohesive. Although we have definitely some steps occurring on the sort of half notes, and I think I want to. Yeah, I definitely think I need to limit or create a knob that allows us to limit the total number of steps coming through. So our total number of steps coming through are controlled by this, since we have the one note coming through, and it is subdivided out, multiplied essentially. It's a better word for it, using this. So that one note turns into 16 notes. So if we limit these down, in fact, I'll probably switch out the chords to be 16 chains with a pitch MIDI effect in there, and each pitch is like up +1 from the previous one, and then I'll have to create the same, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, let me pull this over, and I think we get we get to keep our mappings. Okay, so that was really the only thing keeping me from doing this, and so now I kind of want to play with this idea. Let me just have an excursion. So this one will be, yeah, and now since we don't have that, we only have one step firing through. Okay, so we need to, this one is the C3 coming through. This is C3 +1, +2, and so on and so forth. 4, 5, so 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. Just dial it in there, type in 7, type in 8, oh, halfway, 9, 10. It takes a lot of dedication to get good ideas to come to light. Say 12 on this. Yeah, I'm gonna try to avoid the mistake of last time where I had screwed up the steps, and we were getting some weird anomalies that way, and actually sounded somewhat interesting. So let's see, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, plus 1. Oh, what happened there? Well, it kind of doesn't matter where they're placed. Well, actually it does, since I've got these speakers shutting on and off as we go. All right, with that laser beam, I'm really getting some some vibes from my childhood and some of the Kraftwerk and stuff I love to listen to back then. All right, so now I guess we have all 16. Well, no, we don't have all 16 because this is set down low. So we need to remap this to something. I think I'm going to replace the flam, which is all the way down here. And let's just turn this. Let's leave that off for now. Although flam is really useful to have, and I need to figure out another way to get that in there. We'll just say, hold on, did we do that right? Unmap. Okay, so total steps, yeah, which doesn't make sense considering number of steps. It's a tough call to what to title this. Total steps, beats per steps. Yeah, we only got so many. Okay, so let's so 126 should essentially turn on all of these. So it's hard to say. We don't get much of a readout here. 4 would be maybe almost half. So if I only wanted 4, okay. Yeah, that's a little tough. Not sure how we're gonna fix that one. There's probably a way to do it to get this to read out a little more like between 1 and 16 or something. So let's go ahead and send another beat in there. And so at 1/8 we have beats per steps, 4 steps. And it looks like, well, I'll just make sure all 3 of these are, it looks like only, I see. So we have these all spread out, and they all need to be accepting C3. So it's not accepting anything other than what is set to C3. I knew there was something else that needed to be done to make this work right. And let's go ahead and pull all these in. So we select them all and use the arrow keys on our keyboard, and then we can hit Control and move that one, Control and move the remaining ones down. Whoops. Cool. Gosh, just had a flashback from some weird dream I had last night where I was a female. And not like a transgender, but just like a full-on female, but I was like a boxer, a fighter back in like the 1800s, and was getting ready to get on train to go to Silverthorne of all places, which is a beautiful place to visit, but it's really a dinky little town. And I was going to go there to box in a tournament, try to work my way out of a poverty or you know, from rags to riches kind of story. Probably a good movie plot line or something. And I remember being stuck on this hot, sweaty, overcrowded train at dawn, you know, with a bowl of, like, I had a food that was Korean food for some reason. Dreams just don't make sense, but sometimes, you know, they are great, and they can provide us with some inspiration. And so I guess the moral of that story is, got to be a fighter. I don't think the gender thing has anything to do with anything, but it is interesting to note that I was literally it was like a blonde, tall woman who could really just kick some ass in the ring or something. It's a really fascinating. It's like there's probably a movie being made about this already. And I was just dipping into the Akashic record. Okay, so let's double check. Enough tangent. Let's double check on. Yeah, it looks like we've got all the notes we need coming through there. Let's total steps. I really should name these, so at least if nothing else, we can look inside of here. And cool. So if we just have one step when I replay this, awesome. And then let's pull this down to like 1 note per, I don't know how many steps we've designated. It looks like only 1. Okay, so yeah, no wonder we're getting that 1. So if I move this up to 2 and I feed in another note, Yeah, so we have 2 steps total available. And with this set low, we're only being allowed to play 1 note per those 2 steps. It's complicated. Just like dreams, just like life. But we can get a lot more pattern possibilities that way. Okay, Tangentville, but I need to also save this now to be able to pull it back later, because it will get lost in these sketches if I don't do this. So this is in the MIDI section, I believe, and rando pattern generator. I believe meaningful rando pattern generator was the sort of end title for that. So meaningful rando pattern generator. We'll call this alt with let's see, total steps control. Probably won't make any sense to me down the road, but oh well. Yeah, I feel like this functionality is a lot more useful than having the flam in there. But I do like a little flam every now and then, so that's tricky. We could remove the hold on, because, you know, I feel like if you're using this on a live performance, you know, you kind of want to just leave the hold on and have your beat going, I guess, but it might be nice to kill it. Of course, it won't start back up until we either send it another note or... So let's make the total steps. Gosh, I wish I knew if that was 3 steps or not, but I'm going to guess. Cool, so every 3 steps we might get 1 beat somewhere in there. And if we chance it out, it's going to be even a little more random as to if that strike, that note will occur through to here. Okay. Ooh, I kind of like that gritty. You know, as far as percussion sounds go, the weirder the better, if you ask me. Cool. And, you know, the one thing we didn't do much in the last sketch was automate stuff. So I feel like, you know, well, that sketch ended up being a lot more melodic and kind of more of a nod to sort of old Muzak. So with this one, I think let's play with some of these, take advantage of our automations. Awesome. And let me unlink it and pull this in here. So, and I could modulate it and just do some really, let's try like a really wild pattern. This might sound terrible. I'll pull this in really tight. It really, the analog really behaves well when you have these really tight, sharp modulation curves. It's like they built in some smoothers, which is how analog equipment really works. You don't have the digital click cutoffs unless you have digital envelopes. Like for example, my Korg Minilog, if I set the attack really as far low as it goes, like 0, it does sound really kind of clicky, which I don't totally care for, but at the same time, when running the Minilog through effects, like some lo-fi, say amps, or the RC20 by XLN Audio, that has does a great lo-fi. I like that. Now our hi-hat just turned into kind of it's got that like techno-y doot bleep sound. Yeah, the RC20 is great for lo-fi effects. It's got several effects built in and makes some interesting vinyl crackles. Or cool. Our rando pattern generator is the bee's knees as far as I'm concerned. And we can easily swap out this older version with a new one, with our newer one, and start leveraging that. Let me see if I can do that here. Yes. I like this. I like this, this easy swap. And let's do the total steps on this one to half and then give ourselves a little bit more here. Okay, that's maybe too many. There we go. So now it's only happening. Yeah, let's swap this one out. Since we did all that work, I wonder why this one is not pointing to our projects folder, but maybe we need to actually have clicked on this projects folder here. No, it seems to jump back to our default MIDI. So I guess we can just, I see, just click on that then. And so let's pull this all the way up to total. Well, no, we'll make it like, I don't know, maybe that's like 9 steps. I should probably set it up so that we, really 12 would be the only logical. Geez, that's tough. I'm not sure how to get these numbers to change to a range that I want, but yay. Yay for meaningful random pattern generation. It's a beautiful thing. And I believe this was the only other one we needed to. Cool. We can call this program 1, and then we can duplicate this. Program 2, we can add in some special, we can add in some automations to make all these beats different. And we could obviously automate any of these in program 2. So let's just try. Let's see, what did we do in there? Let's pull this down to one more. There we go. That's our default, more or less. And I'm going to automate down our total steps. And as we're moving this around, so anytime that the MIDI note comes back through, we're gonna get a different, anytime this MIDI note hits, depending on where we're at here in our automation, we're going to get a different number of steps. So maybe for this pattern, I want to actually make the MIDI pattern generation happen more quickly or more often. So anytime we send this note in, all these pattern generators kind of reset with a new random set of patterns, total steps dependent on where this is at. And let's automate this as well. So we could set up a whole bunch of programs this way and use this system to create all kinds of weirdness. These got out of sync. Unlink you, pull this over here. I only want this section to be used. Awesome. And as we've done before, we can group these analogs. I could make multiple ones here, and we could split them out based on key. Right now they're both playing at the same time, which is a little heavy-handed, but I wanted to explore having multiple types of multiple different sounds, different snare type sounds. And of course I don't really know what all different snare sounds we can get out of the analog. I just know how to make the basic one so far. Probably with the LFOs and stuff, we could get a lot more variety that way. We could also put some effects on the end of just this one in this chain. And we could do something where we have a random MIDI note player. And it's going to take this, and we'll just give it one choice versus, you know, the one coming in. So you'll see it'll just go one up. And as you can see, the notes here are going between our two different. So we call this snare 1. Snare 2. And we could probably trick out our meaningful pattern generator to also be able to run various, a meaningful pattern of, you know, however many of these different percussion sounds we wanted in there. You know, if you had a sampler and you just had a bunch of different sample sounds and each was mapped to a different note, and so you could send in a bunch of random notes that way, and it would play a different sample each time it gets a note in. So therefore you're going to get some like really intense, unique types of drum patterns, and I think we'll play with that at some point. One of these days I'm going to go through all the old sketches, and I'm actually going to pull out. So we've got this one really pushing the res. Yeah, so we can hear this every now and then it plays that one. So we could, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off, and then as you've seen us do in previous sketches, I'm going to pull this on. So when we hit program 1, we turn this randomness off, and that means it's only going to play snare 1. If we wanted it to only play a certain snare, we could push up this pitch here. So as we get snare sounds through there, which now that I'm thinking about it, we don't have any beats per step for this program. So I actually need to pull this up. There we go. So now we actually get some. So now it's only playing this rezzed out, which the resonation is just really loud and proud. In fact, I am actually editing the wrong one. Yeah, that is a problem sometimes. So let's see. Let's automate. I'll pull this up a little bit. And I'm going to pull down our chants. I need to move this out of the way. We've got a really long. Oh, shoot, I have a hotkey to just pull me over there. I don't know why I'm not using that more often. Okay, so now let's work on this. There we go. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure why our amplitude, as it's really tight, it doesn't seem to give us a tighter sound. It could be a lot to do with the drum bus also. So yeah, we could pitch this one up. If we just want to access snare 3, then we just pitch this up to 3. Let's make sure, maybe it's 2 actually. Yeah, that makes more sense, and we need to move this up. Oh, that's, no wonder I was hearing the same sound was playing twice. Jeez, it's always the little things that trip you up. Okay, so. And I believe we have some LFOs here that we should leverage. Let's put it on noise 1. I like that. It's like that's like a hard sample and hold type noise, and this is a smoother noise. So let's see. We got an LFO option here. Cool, so that's program 1. And program 2 uses, well, we can make it bounce to all 3 of our different sort of snare-ish type sounds. This is a great trick for when you really want drum patterns that have a bunch of different sounds and timbres playing. Cool. Let's add in another hi-hat type sound and do the same thing over here. And we'll add the randomizer here and just say we only want it to randomize one other note, and that since it's set to add, it's going to be only one other note up. 50-50 chance. So you can see it's kind of 50-50 jumping up to this other one. And we can maybe make this a little more of an open hat. And let's add some color to it. We'll throw an effect right after it. Oh, the classic flanger. And if all the ones Ableton's just, you know, does not sound the best unless you really work it subtly. I think it's, if it's with extreme settings and in an effects chain, it can be really useful and make some really cool tones. Yeah, let's give it a, take that width down so it's not so, the more stereo we add, the more in your face it's like a little more present. It really pops it out. Cool, let's get this pitch thing going here. And let's see, maybe I'm curious what this subsync mode does. Awesome. Now I want to hear what some effects might sound like at the end of this drum pattern. Since we've only used really a super low, insignificant amount of CPU, might as well drag in some of our beastly effects racks. We've got these Cthulhu boxes. I briefly messed with this one in the last. I think I realized it was too much. Yeah, this adds a nice tunnel kind of resonation. That is a lot of effects right there. I think I want to separate this out into its own track. And let's get a, let's siphon some audio from this 12-step 12-step thinger. And there's a gate. I guess we could just use a compressor. It really doesn't matter. All right, so now we have, and we'll just, maybe I'll auto hotkey in my, so as much as I can, I try to keep these at 0. And so that way, as I've got a sketch here, when it actually goes to tracking things out over here, it's really easy to just, you know, I always know I can start from 0 because the thing is mixed, you know, inside of each track really well. I mean, people should just do it however they want. I have my own weird particulars. Cool. I could also hear on this percolator. delay effect. Which we can turn off and only have on program 2. And let's definitely automate the snot out of it. Now I have to remember, don't hold down shift and hit the middle mouse key at the same time. It turns on global record. Glad I got to the bottom of that problem. That's been like 5 or 6 sketches in the making trying to suss that one out. Sometimes it takes you a while, you know, but if you stay cognizant as to what you're doing physically, when a certain thing happens, like a bug or, you know, you can easily find out what causes it and learn to avoid that. It makes life easier down the road. All right, that's probably good enough. Let's dive in there. Cool, and let's just see when we hit program 1. I want this to turn off on program 1, and it's tough when you're setting up different programs and you're adding an effect sort of after the fact. You kind of have to do a little bit of maintenance to make sure that they aren't on for all your programs at the same time. So also same with the flanger, I only want it off. But I'm glad we at least figured out a couple sketches ago that when we move a button, it sets that as more or less default. So when we have a clip playing and we automate it, and we play another clip that doesn't have automation for that, it jumps to that default, which is really, I think, pretty useful to remember. More cheap tricks. It's good to have a whole bunch of those. And we could have a program 3 that, you know, does something really drastic. It's a copy of program 2, but with some effects after it. Yeah, I kind of like this sort of like, you know, some of these classic retro sounds in there, but with a lot of weird sound design-y kind of, you know, it's a very serious song. Yeah, here's our breakdown. This is our breakdown track, and so we'll have this one off as by default. I'll hit turn on program 3 and then show the automation, so it's only on during program 3. Let's verify that. Program 1 and 2, that it stays off. Yay. Just how we wanted. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to automate this so that it fades up over time, and I'm going to set there to be a loop there, but move the start point to the beginning of the automation so that when we push play on program 3, it turns on and also slowly fades in this stupid grain delay kind of garbage, which I really need to get a so that creates our cheapo breakdown effect there. And make sure we're pulling stuff from here. Yeah, so I feel like we should have some programs here to kind of, you know, follow through. And this way I could set the, for this program here, the gain could be set up pretty high, but I guess I can also really just control that. Two ways to do it. We can control that out in here, so I can push up the drive, I guess, just for this clip. And I should probably have this fade up, because if we just turn on this clip with the drive up, but before this fades up, it's going to sound really loud. So let me undo that, and actually instead, let me auto hotkey call up my utility. I'm going to drag a utility in here, and I guess I could have used the gain there. I always forget sometimes that is there. And let's go ahead and EQ down wherever we got these these tweaky sparkles. I could also have program 3 fade down our percussion section too. So we've got it starting here. It looks like it's, oh, interesting. Let me unlink that. What I need to do with program 3 is fix this. I didn't realize that when I was setting up the, no wonder we were not getting enough volume. Okay, so when I was setting up the, this fade in here, I did not unlink first, so I kind of messed up the clip's global loop length, etc. So in this case, we thus do not maybe need as much volume here, because before we just weren't getting any notes maybe. And I could automate this to go down, but not all the way. I still want some of it to come through. In fact, where did my start point go? There it is. I need to make this start at 1. So I just wish that with clips you could have an outro. You know, I guess we could program an outro before we jump to another thing, but I should try that sometime and see if that does the trick. Effects only. Yeah, maybe we didn't really want to get rid of so much of the... So since we have these effects fading in slowly... So in a live set, this is a kind of nice way to make a progression between programs. Is, you know, you're gonna have one clip that sort of fades in, fades different effects in or out from other. Yeah, maybe we don't want this to go all the way. Just there we go. And so maybe I also don't want this to fade out 100%. Maybe we could just sort of have it do this. I do like what I'm hearing here with this Cthulhu style effect, and gotta definitely listen to things really slowed down. Yeah, it's like a whole other world down there in the lower tempo ranges. Try dancing to that, you idiots. Not you guys, not you guys. I was just talking about all the crazy people on drugs on the dance floor. Obviously. You're like, rein it in, man. You're getting a little aggressive. I mean, when there's a beat like this, you know, it's hard not to just feel the aggression, right? It's so tough, it's so masculine. Really channeling my inner female boxer on this one. Cool. Let's see how much was I blowing your all's eardrums. Not too bad, not too bad. Seems like I got the levels okay. Well, we're at about an hour. I did want to try one last thing, as we had a random selection for various percussion sounds in the same lane or chain or whatever, the lane chain. Instead of this randomness, I thought it would be cool to get a get our meaningful pattern generator to decide for us. And I'm curious if this will work. I'm thinking we'll just have to edit it a little bit to make it work. But which interesting? I think it was the snare, right? That we had 3 different. Okay, so this is as far as we made it with the 3 different sounds. I'm going to go ahead to get rid of this one temporarily, since we have automations in different programs. You can group things like that and just mute the group, and so now it'll just stay off for all of them. So until we ungroup it, and then this resumes its previous programmed functionality. Okay, so we don't need the chance stuff in there. We do need this step and this thing with the random once. Obviously, these can go away, and I should clean that up in the rack that we saved. But I'll do that. I'll do that after this. So we don't need this to push them all the way up. And maybe we don't need the velocity. So maybe I'll just turn, for now, all of these off. And we'll see what we get over here. It looks like we're going to get the 16... Well, we don't have this... Yeah, we don't have this set up, or the knob here is not set to a total of 16 steps. Let's see. Yeah, this is our steps in the sequence. So as long as we... Well, we have three different ones. So we need to set this to 3 steps. Or not this one. This is that's not the one we want. Okay, so this needs to be set to 3 steps. Ah, that is from here. So that's 3. And I guess we want this to be 100% of 3. Did I do that in the right spot? Let's just see. So I guess what this is going to end up doing is it's sending out a new pattern. So more or less we have to have... so this isn't going to be so simple after all, because we're getting notes from this pattern generator that are then feeding this pattern generator. And each note that comes in here is going to select a different random... Interesting. So we need to edit the original. This one. Because we can really only have, I guess to make this work right, we can only have one random once happening at a time. And so we have all our different notes here. So for this one, we just need to get rid of the... let's see, we need to get rid of maybe this one and then all of these. Not get rid of, but let's just turn them off for now. And see if we get this where it selects the different... Cool. Maybe we want to leave on our velocity. I don't think that was hurting anybody. We just don't want all the note compression we were getting before. So let's see. So let's what I'm going to do here for this is I'm going to turn off these notes. We only want one pattern to be generated in a long period of time. So let's just watch these notes. Yeah, and it looks like it's selecting these instruments in a meaningful pattern that repeats itself until this next note is hit, and then we're going to get a different repeating pattern. Okay, so that was a really easy way to fix it. We just needed to turn off our note compressions here. Good to know. Okay, so that's a really easy fix, because with these on, it essentially just sends out C3 only, and the probability, you know, we get that there. So obviously we could, if we want a little more probability, in this case, a more predictable probability, then we would just pull up our total number of steps from 3. So essentially what we'll see here is it'll choose between these 3, but we'll also see some other notes happen up here. Of course, we need a new note to fire off a new pattern there. So we should see some notes popping around up here, which won't play anything because we don't have any instruments set up there. Yeah, so I see a few firing off up here. Alright, cool. Well, this is good to know that we... Oh, and I see for this one we're also automating stuff, which is causing even more chaos. Yeah. Cool. Well, for now, I think I'm good on this sketch. Discovered a few things, learned how to trick out this a little bit to make a new version. And yeah, I think in the future I want to try to play with some percussion sections that have a lot of different sounds to choose from. Maybe we'll play with some samples for that kind of scenario. Who knows? Cool, and let's bust out this program. I mean, it's with the edits done to our meaningful pattern generator. We don't need that one anymore. Let's see. Yeah, and we could set these on by default. Actually, let's ungroup this. I'm going to kind of try to undo some of my debugging type of stuff. And we had turned off these. We didn't think we needed these. Did we? So now it's behaving more normally, I guess. So it should only be selecting, well, based on this random chance, it's a lot more random in what it's selecting. It's not driven by the meaningful pattern. So if we want only, say, this program to employ that sort of meaningful selection, then we need it to turn off these MIDI effects, but only for this pattern. So that's another way we could approach this. Have it only pattern generated, and we could obviously group these, and instead of having to turn off a bunch of different things, we could have just turn off the groups. There's a lot of ways to skin a robot in this. And we'll turn this one off. I guess this was the pattern where this randomizer was turned on, so we want the meaningful randomizer now anyway. And was this thing just turned off? Ah, no, it's on there. Okay, so, and here it should be maybe off. Yeah. So only the C3 one is played. Yep. Wow, that kick is really really dense, and maybe too much, a little too much. Well, there is no boom there. Maybe we'll bump the transients. I'm sure you guys are opening these mixes up on your systems and are thinking like, holy crap, this is muddy as heck. You know, admittingly, I'm not doing these videos on a great system. I'm using, I think the earbuds that I'm using sound pretty decent. As far as all the different styles of music I've listened to with them, they actually do sound pretty decent. I've noticed when I move my mixes that I've set up and done for about 40% of the way to the finish line, I do the mixes with these earbuds, and when I move those mixes over onto my two sets of speakers, I use Mackie HR824s, old sort of 2002-3 edition ones, and then the Rocket 8s from 2012, I think, which are really clear in the high end, but the HR824s have a lot more bass. But I notice when I move these mixes from the earbuds, things tend to maybe be a little bassy or muddy or something, but I have 5 or 6 different systems that I will listen to a track on before calling it done, and I notice each of those systems points out certain sections of the frequency ranges that need to be tamed. It's interesting, and just listening to mixes in different rooms and different perspectives, I can always hear certain things that need just subtle fixing. It's fascinating how that works, and I've definitely tuned these systems, so it's, as far as I know, not the room that's pushing out or whatever certain frequencies, although that has happened to me in the past. And that's when I started tuning, was when I realized, doing some tests, that, oh my gosh, this room is really, certain mid-range frequencies are really loud in this room based on where the speakers are set up against the wall and based on the size of the room. And the best solution would be just to get a room and fill it with books that line the walls, books and carpet on the ceiling. And the smaller studios that I have built over the years, the tiny ones, have actually sounded the best. It seems like there's not enough room for boom to really occur too much. And I've always had a lot of fabric set up and a lot of random objects in the room. that aren't resonant. You know, like books are the best. If you just have a wall full of books, or vinyl also. So anyway, I'm gonna call it a day on this. But yeah, until next time, keep it weird.